the first thing whenever we're faced with a CVE in one of the LTS products that we support is to research. We need to find out more about the CVE. Is it repeatable? What is the attack vector? Is it only something that can be attacked locally? Is it something network adjacent or completely remotely exploitable over the network? What is the the severity of the CVE? So if it's a CVSS score of 7 versus 10, 10 is obviously going to get a little more attention than just a 7. And then we look at available patches from the upstream. So most of the distributions that are out there, maybe all of them, are essentially a collection of packages from somebody else. So there's individual package maintainers who maintain versions of, usually multiple versions of each package. There will usually be, there's at least one, as long as the package is still current, but they might, also support other versions. So like OpenSSL 3, OpenSSL 2, you can still find patches for the source code for OpenSSL version 2, but also 3.
Yeah.
So typically one of these end-of-life distributions that we're looking to backport a patch to is not going to be one of the supported versions. Typically with the 10-year life cycle of a rel derivative, the actual version doesn't get rebased very often. So the version that is still distributed with CentOS 7 today is, for the most part, the same version that was shipped when CentOS 7.0 came out, just with backported patches by Red Hat. And so then we kind of step in after end of life and we do some backporting of patches. And so almost no patches are just a lift, from another, from the package maintainer or from another distribution and just apply it. There's, you actually have to know what the patch is doing and be able to backport the, the changes.
That's a very important point. I wanted to kind of double down on that just to make sure that people understand this big piece, right? So what Rich just mentioned, the fact that the Linux distribution, that the CentOS distribution has an older version. So you might be thinking, well, why don't you just send us the latest OpenSSL as an example? And I also like to use OpenSSL as an example. Just send us the latest OpenSSL. Well, no, right, Rich? Because that's going to create other issues.
Yeah, that can have a cascading effect, because with something like OpenSSL, which has libraries that are installed on the system and other applications rely on those libraries, changes between OpenSSL, say 2 and OpenSSL 3, that's a major version difference between OpenSSL library versions. And just because something works for OpenSSL 2 doesn't mean it's going to work with an OpenSSL 3 library, even if the package is rebuilt.
Yeah, so very important in those cases to, as Rich mentioned, right, you take the patch, but then you have to backport to the version that it's on CentOS. In this case, will be 6 or 8, and it's going to happen for CentOS 7. And that's a key. This is a key piece, right? So it's not as simple as it sounds. Just bring already the patch. There's a patch. Bring it. No, in many cases it has to be backported. And then I interrupted you, Rich. The end of the process here is you apply the patch and then you run testing before it's published, right?
Sure. Yep. So there's simple smoke testing. Just make sure that the package installs and simple commands or functions associated with the package still work. During the actual build of the package, a lot of the packages will have a built-in test suite. And outside of that, there's CentOS itself has a functionality test suite. It doesn't have coverage of every package, but if the package is covered in there, we'll run those tests on it as well. Make sure that everything is still good and running.